I'm an a-hole for making my daughter leave because my husband is attracted to her. This is the first one and I'm praying that that's a trick question. I, 55 female, have been married to my husband and daughter's stepdad, 63 male, for 4 years. My 23-year-old daughter and I have a complicated relationship. She has been diagnosed with DID and she has a lot of trauma from watching me and my husband's horrible marriage go down and was bullied in school. When she told me that she was being bullied by peers, my view that all children are innocent really tied my hands because I told her if I said anything to them I would be an adult harassing a child. I'm not surprised you and your daughter have a complicated relationship, but it sounds of it she's literally telling you she's getting picked on and you're not going to do anything. Now, should you go up and shout at the kids? No. Should you maybe speak to them? Like, I don't see an issue with that. If anything, talk to the school or talk to the teachers. She has blamed me for that ever since and keeps referring to this one time where the kids at school called her trash due to the fact that she wasn't taking care of her hygiene due to depression. Part of my response was telling her to take a shower and I bought her new clothes. The bullying finally ended with an expulsion and suspension for the ringleaders. So it looks like bullying was going on. You would expect them to be told off and get a detention. For them to get suspended and expelled, it must have been pretty bad. She still throws the fact that a school clinic volunteer told her that if she was their kid, she'd have permission to punch back if administrators didn't do anything. As much as I don't agree with violence, I kinda agree with that. You know, put it this way, if a kid is getting bullied and the school and teachers aren't doing anything, is it really wrong for that kid to stick up for themselves? Now, is it the right thing to do? Probably not. However, you know, if they're asking for it, they're gonna get it. I thought that her living with me while she finishes school and gets a job would heal some childhood wounds. If my second husband and I modelled a healthy relationship. However, my daughter now doesn't get along with my husband. She's a very introverted, creative person who likes immersing herself in escapism. She'd get annoyed if she was sitting alone and my husband would sit across from her and eat. Then she ate later so she could eat alone. It doesn't seem like she's got an issue with the husbands, it's more an issue with you. You're trying to frame this story in a way that it's her fault and your husband's fault, when it's just your fault. However, my husband started acting distant from me and my daughter complained that his eyes lingered for too long. She got very angry and there was a lot of shouting and slamming doors. Finally, my husband admitted he's attracted to her and it's hard to be around her all day. Said she was a walking temptation and he was always avoiding intercourse with me. Yes, this just is wrong. If you keep that man in that household, you're making yourself an even worse mother than what you currently are. I was so upset to hear this. I don't blame my daughter for this, but at the same time the situation has become unbearable. Something would have to give and I couldn't collect my thoughts with both of them still being in the house. So I gave my daughter money to stay at an extended stay hotel and asked her to utilise her college's emergency financial and housing resources they have for students in need. She responded by storming out and telling my ex, who's now circling social media, using it to paint me as the villain of all villains. I'm not abandoning my daughter. She qualifies for some of those resources anyway since my ex-husband is unemployed and we're in substantial debt. I just need time to process the situation and don't want to leave my house to stay with my daughter when I have a marriage to figure out whether or not to see if I'm an a-hole. You're thinking about saving your marriage. Surely you should have already buried it. Your husband has literally just told you that he is attracted to his stepdaughter and then in response you kick her out of the house. Talk about being the worst mother of the year. You're the a-hole. I have a hard time believing that her DID just came from seeing you and your ex fight. DID stems from repeated trauma before the ages of 9ish. You're punishing your daughter for your husband being inappropriate. Kick him out of the house while you figure things out. Why would you need to figure things out? Like, I'm so sorry, can we just like actually understand what's going on here? This isn't a situation where you need to sit down and figure things out. What you need to do is kick him out of the house. Is it really that complicated? I feel so bad for that young girl. You're a terrible mother. You failed to protect her before and you're doing it again. No wonder why she has issues. What should have happened is that you sent that D-bag husband of yours packing if it's your house and assure your daughter that you'll protect her. But the thing is, she's not going to protect her daughter. I don't think she likes her daughter. She's got a lot of hatred towards her daughter. She talked about how she's got a complicated relationship, but that complicated relationship is due to you. Like, it's literally due to the way you've been treating her. God, I'm so lucky I don't have parents like that. You know, I'm very lucky I grew up in a very good family because I can assure you I'd be messed up if I had a mother like that. I'm an a-hole for letting my daughter flaunt her expensive items. I, 50 female, and my husband, 48 male, have a daughter, Danica, who's 21. She's been extremely independent her whole life. Danica began working while she was 15 and she now works part-time for a large corporation while pursuing her study. We're extremely proud of her and how hard she's worked. We generally allow her to manage her own finances and she insists on contributing monthly to family expenses with the money she earns. Danica occasionally likes to make pricier purchases, which I do not have a concern over as I think they're sensible financial choices. Like last year she decided to purchase the newest MacBook as her old laptop was on its last leg and she wanted something reliable and long lasting, or when she bought a Marc Jacobs bag for work and university. Okay, so by the sound of it, Danica is spending her own money. You know, at the end of the day, if she makes money, why can't she spend it? If we do look at the title again, I'm an a-hole for letting my daughter flaunt her expensive item. Is this her flexing it or is it just her showing off? Because there's a big difference between them two. We recently went on a family trip with my brother and his family, who have 2 kids of their own. Tammy, who's 20, and Nick, who's 23. His kids and Danica aren't exactly close, but they get along fine for the most part. I know that Tammy and Nick do not have any source of income besides my brother and have not worked a day in their life. During the trip, Danica would occasionally pay for the 3 of them for small things like drinks or food. When we were shopping, Danica bought a few items for herself and picked up gifts she wanted to bring back for her friends. During that night, my sister-in-law told my husband that we were spoiling Danica too much with her purchases. We explained that Danica earned her own money and every cent came from her job. Sister-in-law then proceeded to point and tell Danica that if that was the case, she shouldn't be flaunting flaunting her purchases and items in front of her cousins who don't have a cushy little office job and parents who spoiled her into the person she is. Oh, so was that right there, the flaunting? The way they labelled it, I was going to assume that Danica was doing TikTok videos showing off all the expensive things she was buying. So apparently the issue is that Danica's just buying stuff for herself with her own money. What's the issue with that? Like, it doesn't seem like flaunting to me. Danica apologised politely, saying that she didn't mean to flaunt her thing, but I could tell that she was upset and embarrassed. My husband stood up and shot back, saying that Danica shouldn't have to apologise for her own hard work. I also pointed out that Danica has been financially independent since she was 15, and that we've always done our best not to spoil her. Sister-in-law then proceeded to tell us that we weren't teaching her how to manage her finances correctly, and that all this money had turned her into a little brat. Danica excused herself to the bathroom and texted that she had gone back to the hotel. We had a tense back and forth for the rest of the dinner, and we came back to finding Danica crying in her hotel room. I called my brother hoping that he's able to talk to his wife, but explained that for the past few days Tammy had been crying to her parents about not having what Danica had. She had been whining to her mum that she wanted the newest MacBook as well, but she refused to get it for her. Myself, Danica and husband have been getting calls from the rest of the family, some calling us a-holes and some who were willing to hear us out and understand where we were coming from. So am I the a-hole? I'm gonna say no. You know, by the sounds of it, it's not your fault that Danica has money. I understand maybe why our cousins feel like that. You know, put it this way, if you're somebody who doesn't have money and you're with someone who does have money, it does make you feel like crap. But at the end of the day, if they're not shoving it down your throat and making you feel bad about yourself on purpose, is that their fault? You know, that just is the reality of the situation. Now, if Danica was going around and flaunting stuff and said, haha, I can afford this, you can't, that's different. I'd say she's an a-hole. However, I don't really think she is. You know, by the sounds of it, she just is spending the money she worked for. So 2 grown adults complained to their parents about what a 3rd grown adult has bought with her own money. They not realise how pathetic that sounds. Not the a-hole, your daughter's done nothing wrong. Oh yeah, I should remind myself, these people are literally 20 and like 21. They're adults, they're not kids. The way that whole situation was going, I was assuming the kids were like 13, 14, 15, man. They're literally in their 20s, they ain't teenagers. Yeah, I'm sorry, maybe what they need to do is get a job and then they might have some money to be able to spend on stuff they want. Not the a-hole, your daughter's earned every penny, is entitled to spend that money on whatever she wants. Your sister-in-law needs to teach her children to manage their jealousy and maybe earn their own money too. Thinking about it now, why is a mother-in-law saying something? Why can't the kids say something? They're all adults. This just seems like jealousy where somebody has something but you don't, so then you hate them for that. So go take your envy somewhere else. Am I the a-hole? I asked my ex-husband's mother to stay away from my children. A little backstory. My ex-husband and I were together for 8 years. My 2 sons were ultimately adopted by him. He has 2 daughters that I fell in love with and we were a good family. His ex-wife hated me, which I understood due to her daughters wanting me over her, though I engaged him to be with her, even when she wasn't around for various reasons. My ex-husband's mother hates me because when we first got together, I made him be his own person and not rely on her. I remember a few years ago, I used to react to a TL show, what was it, Just a Mama's Boy? Basically, it's fully grown men, but like they're basically dating their mum. They're not dating their mums, but their mums just can't let them go. By the way, these men are like engaged, they have homes, lots of stuff like that, but their mothers will not let them grow up. Isn't that like really creepy? It's not like a mother's love, you know, it's like a mother's control. Their mothers absolutely hate their girlfriends and wives because they take them away from them. And I will say, your ex-husband's mother seems like one of them women. He would literally go over there and have her do his laundry and watch his kids while he did nothing. Again, I understood why she hated me and continued on with our relationship. Well, now we split up, and now his mother and ex-wife are best friends, and when she's around my children, she continues to bash me in front of them. I got a call from my stepdaughter a couple of weeks ago, crying that she can't handle what Mimi was saying. This was the last straw for me. Apparently, she told my 13-year-old son he has a rare tumour disorder and experiences pain, that I'm lying to him and everyone about his diagnosis and treatment, and that I shouldn't be allowed to have contact with my own children. Talking about losing contact with children, this granny's gonna lose contact with her grandchildren. Yet again, where does this evilness come from? How can you have lived a big long life and still be so hateful? Oh wait, I know, because you won't let your son go. I attempted to talk with her to understand the situation and put boundaries down. She replied by saying I lie about everything and she doesn't care what I have to say. I told her I wouldn't allow my children to be subjected to her type of abuse, and she said that because my ex-husband is their dad and pays child support, she can essentially see and do whatever she wants. So I'm an a-hole for asking my ex-husband to not let his mum see my children. I tried to reconcile with her and only got hate and threats. I've dealt with her for 10 years in total now, and this is the first time I put my foot down because she's actually made 2 of my children cry due to what she says. I feel terrible because she's family, but my children and I have been through a lot and I don't feel like they deserve to be subjected to that. What should I do if he allows her to see them if I've asked him not to? Well, first of all, she's not your family, she's his family, so she's technically not your family. And then yet again, why would the children want a granny like that? Why would they want a family member like her in their life? Because I can assure you I wouldn't. The best thing you can do in a situation like that is just get a lawyer and ask for legal advice. At the end of the day, if she's upsetting and triggering the children, why should they have to deal with her in their life? Please get some legal advice. While your ex is their dad and has rights, your kids have the right to not be around this kind of abuse. I kind of want to know why her ex hasn't stopped his mother from seeing the children as well. Does he know that the mother's treating her that way? I mean, put it this way, I understand she maybe doesn't like you. I'm sure she can rant all day about you, however she shouldn't do it in front of the kids. So the best thing you could just do is to get a lawyer. I'm an a-hole for not waking up a tourist who overslept and missed the day trip she paid for. Hi guys, I'm a Bulgarian tour guide who company's groups to Sicily. On a recent trip, one woman who was travelling alone mid-30s was consistently oversleeping. The first day after we arrived, we had a day trip to AITA and Taormina. Apologies for butchering that. One thing I cannot do is pronounce words like that, so please know I'm trying my best. For which we depart at 8 AM as we do all our everyday tours. I make sure that all tourists are informed of the departure times in the bus the day before, and they also have my number to call in case I forget so I can remind them. They also all have printed out pamphlets with the schedule made by the travel agency that I hand out that has the time for departure on it. All of the group was in time except one woman. She was late by 10 minutes, which okay, maybe she just got caught up in something and was late. I excused it and then mentioned to the whole bus in the mic that I do not tolerate lateness beyond 15 minutes, at most in case of emergency like a forgotten possession, and I must always be called and informed in case someone is running late. The trip went by okay otherwise. The next day the same tourist was late again by 25 minutes, almost an entire half an hour. I called her twice to no answer, and we were about to leave without her when she came running out and got on the bus. She got lucky as the receptionist at the hotel asked me about a missing piece of info on the rooming list and earned some time. I reminded everyone again that I will not be waiting anymore for late tourists in the morning, and waking up in time is their responsibility. The first time's understandable, like if you're a couple of minutes late it's not too bad. This is the second time and it's 10 minutes after the last one. Even for me, if you're a couple of minutes late that's understandable. 10-15 minutes is kind of pushing it. 25 minutes, that's unacceptable. When we came back that evening, she asked me if I could make sure to wake her up in time. I reminded her a third time that I'm not responsible for waking people up. Everyone gets a printed leaflet with departure times and I announce everything the day before. She kept saying no, just knock on my door if I'm not out by 8:15, and I kept repeating I really can't do that for everyone, please set an alarm. Well duh, it's not your responsibility to wake her up. Literally set an alarm on your phone, it's not rocket science. Well, on the day we were visiting Syracuse, she didn't show up. I waited 15 minutes after the supposed departure time, called her twice to no response, then left with the bus and the rest of the group. She called me in a panic about an hour later asking where we were. I explained the situation calmly. She got angry and said that I had one job and that I cheated her out of her money she paid to go on that day trip. She missed the whole day trip and was furious the next day. Later she told the rest of the group that I had abandoned her, and also called my agency, leaving a bad review about me. I'm an a-hole for not personally waking up a grown woman despite warning her multiple times I wouldn't. Well, I mean, come on, what do you think? Of course not. Yet again, her being 10-15 minutes late, that is, a bit stretching it. Especially in the first day, but then, 25 minutes an hour, like it's just unacceptable. She just seems like a bit of a mess, and honestly it's probably best not to have her on the tour. This woman could have also requested a wake-up call from her hotel, but why is it even their responsibility to wake her up? I'm sorry, but if you're in a hotel and you have to be out of that hotel or up by a certain time, it's your own responsibility. Set an alarm on your phone, 1, 2, 3, even 10, as long as it gets you up. If you're meant to be somewhere at a certain time and you don't turn up because you've slept in, it's nobody's fault but your own. I'm an a-hole for calling the cops on my dad's pregnant girlfriend or maybe wife. I, 17 male, lived full time with my mum. My dad was never even a part-time dad. He was a see you once or twice a year dad who didn't even devote that once or twice a year to me. See a dad like that, it's probably best for that kid not to have a parent. Is it that controversial to say that? Put it this way, if you have a parent they only see you once or twice a year, is there much point then being your parent? I think I'd much rather have no dad than once or twice a year dad. Sometimes the only reason we saw each other is because my grandparents, his parents included me in their lives, they both died a couple of years ago. The last 2 times I saw my dad, he brought along his girlfriend who I hadn't known about the first time and her kids. The first time I spent the weekend with them, and the second time it was a day with them. The last time was 8 or 9 months ago. I told him I didn't want to keep showing up and he seemed totally eager to agree with that. It would be a kick in the teeth, wouldn't it, to literally spend time with your dad and his girlfriend while he's with kids? How come he's able to have time for them kids but not enough time for you? As soon as that happened, his girlfriend started seeking me out. We live in a small town so it's not that hard, but she would make a point to cross over to speak to me, and she would ask me if I'd like to hang out with her more with her younger kids. I said no, and I told her, though not exactly like this, that I didn't want contact with my dad anymore, so it didn't make sense for us to have contact either. She told me she'd like me to be part of the family and to give it a shot now that her and her kids are around. I said I'd made my mind up already. Okay, so it seems quite nice that she at least wants to get you involved in her family. However, yet again, why would you want to be part of that? Why does the dad have enough time for them kids but not enough time for you? Being around his new family would constantly remind you of the fact that he wasn't around you when you were their age. She kept seeking me out, trying to make me give them a chance. I tried to be nice and I told her I just had no interest, and my dad made no effort to be near me. She even started approaching my mum, who after a few times got annoyed and told her to stay away from the two of us if she didn't want the cops and lawyers to get involved. She then showed up at our house a few times. She came to tell me that she was pregnant. She wanted to invite me to a big family lunch with her side and some relatives on his side. Okay, so originally this seemed innocent, it's now seeming a little bit creepy. She seems to have a little bit of an obsession with you, and I can't figure out if it's a good obsession or a bad one. She came by to ask if I'd want to go to the park with her and her kids, and the kids would be standing there. One time she told them that I was her brother and wouldn't it be so cool to go to the park together. She usually left after being told to once or twice, but she kept coming back, so my mum got security cameras. She asked mum another day if she could take me away for the day for something special, and mum closed the door in her face. Yeah, so this just doesn't seem normal. I don't know why, but I have a weird feeling that she really wants you. She doesn't want you to be around around her kids, she wants you to be around her. Is anyone else thinking that? My mum talked to her lawyer and the cops she knows, and they told her to document and only call the cops if we clearly ask her to leave, and she won't, which is what happened on Saturday. I was home on my own and she showed up with her kids looking for me to come over and spend the day with them. I told her no and asked her to leave, and I did again more forcibly before I did end up calling the cops. When the cops showed up, she was arguing that she's my stepmom and she's married to my dad. Not sure if that's true or not, and that she has the right to show up at my house. Her kids were getting more upset the longer the whole thing dragged on, so they had to arrest her. Yeah, I think we also have to remind ourselves whenever she's going to his house, she's bringing her kids. Imagine how the poor wee kids feel. My dad got in my mum's case so hard about it, and she had to come home early and make sure I was okay and stuff. One of those times you could hear his girlfriend crying in the background about what I did to her and her kids, and she was that loud that I could hear her. He won't stop calling her and she's recording stuff if we needed it. She checked it was okay first, but they're saying I'm an awful person to call the cops on a pregnant woman like that, and I should have just talked to her. I'm an a-hole. Well, no, you've tried to talk to her. You've told her multiple times leave you alone. So the only thing you could really do to have her listen to you is to call the police. A lot of people are talking about maybe she's looking for a babysitter. I never really thought about that. Like for me, I just thought she maybe had a thing for him and wanted to end up dating him. But it kind of makes sense. If she had a relationship with him, she could have just dropped the kids off at his house. So are you an a-hole? Absolutely not. Quite frankly, I think you need to go further. I think you need to file for a restraining order. Well, anyways, guys, let's leave that video there. Assume look at more posts on r/I'm an a-hole. Let me know if you will. Chris Bigger, subscribe, and see you all tomorrow for another video.